This is a torque converter. The torque converter consists of the pump impeller, the turbine runner, and the stator. The pump impeller is integrated with the converter case, which is in turn connected to the crankshaft of the engine. The turbine runner is splined to the input shaft of the planetary gear unit. The torque converter itself is filled with automatic transmission fluid. We will do a little experiment now and see how power is transmitted. This is the pump impeller. Let's pour some fluid into it and see what happens when we turn it. As you can see, the fluid runs along each blade and the case. Then the fluid is flung out and away from the pump impeller. This is due to centrifugal force. Now, what will happen if we position the turbine runner so that the fluid from the pump impeller hits it? Yes, the turbine runner starts to rotate. In other words, power is transmitted from the pump impeller to the turbine runner by the fluid. This is the principle used by the torque converter to transmit power. In an actual automatic transmission, the torque converter is sealed tightly and filled with fluid. Next, let's see how this fluid moves to transmit power and amplify torque. As we saw in the experiment earlier, the fluid coming out of the pump impeller hits the blades of the turbine runner, and this causes the turbine runner to begin rotating. Now, what happens when the fluid returns to the pump impeller from the turbine runner? Uh-oh, the fluid is hitting the pump impeller from the wrong direction, isn't it? Won't this interfere with the rotation of the impeller and reduce torque rather than amplify it? Don't worry, we can solve this problem by placing a stator between the pump impeller and the turbine runner. As you can see here, the stator changes the direction of the returning fluid so that it matches the direction of the pump impeller. Now, the pump impeller is being rotated by two forces moving in the same direction, one from the engine and the other from the fluid. This causes the torque converter to amplify the torque from the engine. As the pump impeller keeps rotating, the turbine runner also rotates and gradually reaches the speed of the pump impeller. When this occurs, the returning fluid hits the back of the stator blades. The stator is now blocking the flow of fluid. To prevent this, the stator is fitted to its shaft via a one-way clutch. The point at which the stator begins idling is called the clutch point. Once the stator reaches the clutch point, the torque converter acts only as a fluid coupling, meaning that it does not amplify torque, but only transmits torque. This shows how the torque converter transmits engine power to the input shaft of the planetary gear.